If I look really tired today, it's because I am. I've been up since 6:30 for no good reason because I've got nothing to do today. So yeah, been up since 6:30 for no reason at all. And I'm really tired. So, having a mental health illness is one of the most difficult things somebody can go through, in my opinion. It's so hard to deal with. And on top of that, if you have to go through exams and school and stuff like that, it seems like it's impossible sometimes, and it can really get you down and feel like everything's just a bit too much. I've been there, I know exactly what it's like, and although I've not been at school and done exams for a couple of years, I remember how terrifying it was and how difficult it was to go through. So I've made some tips just in case they might help some of you. These tips are made for people who have anxiety disorder, they've been diagnosed with anxiety, but if you want to listen and you've not been diagnosed and you just want to listen and see if some of these tips might help you, I think some of them might, but some of them are more aimed at mental health. So I have some tips on revising and I have some tips on the actual exam. Some people find revision more stressful, some people find the actual exams more stressful. I personally found the actual exams more stressful, so I'm going to try and focus on that, but there are still some revision tips for people. So my first tip is to have at least one day off a week. This is totally kind of moldable to whoever you are. If you're somebody that thinks you might need more than one day a week off, that is perfectly fine. You can still get straight A's in your exams if you take a couple of days off a week, that's fine. If you're somebody that will stress you out even more to have one day off a week, I would still recommend you have a day off a week. Even if it's just a half day off a week, you need time to settle down, you need time to relax. It's so important. I'd say no matter who you are, even if you don't have a mental health condition, having a day off a week when you're doing exams, not to revise, do whatever you want to do, lie in bed all day if you want to do that, that's absolutely fine. That's still productive. Like, that is a productive thing to do when you're going through exams, because it's really productive to have days off to make yourself feel better, have long baths, watch loads of TV, eat loads of rubbish, do whatever you want on those days. That is really, really, really important, and make sure you do that at least once a week. Something I remember doing when I was doing exams, I don't know if this sounds silly, but I used to go onto Instagram and Twitter and stuff and then type in #revision. And this sounds really silly and like, I don't know, but I used to type in #revision. Then I'd go through like the hashtag page, I don't know what they're called. I really don't know terms or whatever, but I'd go through like the hashtag page and there'd be loads and loads and loads of people revising, and that made me feel like, oh no, I need to revise. I'd look at all their notebooks and their highlighters and their pens, and it just really inspired me to revise. So when I was feeling a lack of motivation, I'd go onto Instagram and follow the hashtags and make myself inspired, because it always inspired me and gave me a little kick to get some revision done. My last revision tip is a revision tip that I wish I'd done when I was at school. I don't think I did this, but I think everyone has a favourite subject that they like revising for. Mine was RE at school, and I always revised for that because I just found it quite fun to revise and very interesting. But then I really neglected other subjects because I just found it fun to revise for RE. So if you write down every single one of your subjects, all your subjects written down in one place, and then when you've done an hour of one subject, you can either put a sticker there or just a 1, or I don't know, something that you know means 1 hour and you've done an hour of that work. And by the end of the week you can go back and look at it and be like, okay, I did like 6 hours of English and no geography that whole week. I really need to focus on geography this week. It makes it a lot easier to like plan out your subjects, and not strict plans. I found strict plans really difficult to follow, and they made me feel even more stressed. So you just kind of have a rough idea of how many hours you've done for each subject. You'll be able to like balance your time a bit better, I think. Moving on to the actual exam, because that's the thing that I found very stressful. I generally, with my anxiety, I find it quite difficult when I'm in an enclosed space and I know I can't leave. I think a lot of people find that really stressful, and you feel trapped. The first thing I want to say is you are never trapped. No matter what situation you're in, you are never trapped. You can always leave. There's never a situation you're going to be in, unless you're on a plane or something. I can't really think of many situations where you're actually trapped. You can leave the room whenever you want, and there was times actually when I did my 4th year exams, so I was about 16, when I had to leave the room a few times, and they let me go back in because they saw that I was obviously very anxious and I wasn't very well, and so they just said, just take your time and then you can go back in. You might not get the time at the end to make up for it, so that's the only thing you might miss out on, but you can really take your time and you can just leave the room if you want to. Your health is so much more important, put that first. Something I always use before every single exam, I'm pretty sure before every single exam, definitely in 5th and 6th year, is I used something called Back's Rescue Remedy, and I know a couple of other people I think used it. If you've never heard of it, it's just this little kind of yellow, I don't know what you call them, like spray and you like take the spray and you spray it twice in your mouth, like to the back of your throat. I used to always take it. I don't know if it was kind of like a placebo thing, so I knew I'd taken it so I was more calm, but it did make me feel a lot more calm. I don't know what it's got in it. It kind of tasted alcoholic, but it's not alcoholic at all. Like, it just tasted kind of like whiskey, but it's not whiskey. My mum uses Black's Rescue Remedy as well before any like presentation she's got to give or anything like that. I know quite a few people that use it and it really benefits a lot of people, so even if you're not sure if it'll work for you, you might as well give it a try. You've got nothing to lose. So something at school that I did for my exams is I got separate accommodation. So in 4th year, I didn't have separate accommodation because I didn't know it existed for anxiety. I knew there were certain people that needed extra help in exams, they got different rooms and stuff, but I didn't know that you get it just because you have anxiety. And so in 4th year, I think there was a few of my exams, 3 or 4 maybe, that I ran out crying and I couldn't go back in because I was just unbelievably anxious. My first ever exam I did actually, I remember having a really strange panic attack where I felt like my fingers were shrinking. So I was writing in English and then my fingers felt like they were getting really, really small, and I kept looking at them and thinking, these are getting really small, like what am I going to do? Like, and it was really, really insane. Like, it just shows what stress can do to your brain. So separate accommodation is something that I know all UK schools, I think, have to give you separate accommodation if you've got a doctor's note. Even if you've not got a doctor's note though, you can still go to like your head of house, I don't know what you have at your school, your head teacher maybe, a normal teacher, I don't know who you can go to, but definitely there are people in the school you can go to and say, I have really bad anxiety, I have really bad depression, whatever it is that you feel like you need a separate room for, and just say to them, I've got a doctor's note if you have one. If you don't, just say I've got really, really bad anxiety, I really need a separate room because I know that the big room is going to freak me out and I'm not going to be able to do well in my exams. You need to just be as honest as you can, because the way that we can get mental health noticed and get help for it is by keep speaking out. The worst thing that's going to happen is they say no, you might as well try. If they do say no, go to your doctors and say, I need separate accommodation for my exams because I can't do this. They will write you a note and you give it to them and they have no choice but to give you a separate accommodation. Separate accommodation made a huge difference to me when I was at school. In 6th year, I think that's the reason I did quite well. I didn't do amazingly in my exams, but I think that's the reason I did okay in 6th year, is because I had a separate room and I knew what was going on. My next tip is to have little things that make you feel better. Whether that's something in your bag that you know is there just in case, whether it's kind of like medication you take just in case you get a really bad panic attack, if it's like your favourite scarf, if it's a perfume that makes you feel more safe and calm, spray it on yourself before you go in and smell it whenever you're feeling a bit nervous. I used to always, when I had my separate accommodation especially, I used to go into a room, I'd take my shoes off. I remember one year I was wearing Converse and I took my shoes off, and then at the end it was really funny because I finished quite early and then I was putting my shoes on, the woman was like, I was like, you know what, I don't care. It makes me feel a lot better when I don't have shoes on. And so it's just a strange thing in my head. Might not make much of a difference, but to me it made a huge difference. So I took my shoes off because it's going to make me feel better and do better in my exam. Make sure you have water. Make sure you have a list of things that you know you're going to need in your exam. Water, Black's Rescue Remedy, take your shoes off if you want to, nice perfume, money in it for after your exam so you can go and buy lots and lots of chocolate for doing so well. Just pack everything but the kitchen sink because you never know what you might need, and it's better to be prepared than underprepared. If you are somebody that suffers with like kind of general anxiety and you feel anxious quite a lot and it means that you sometimes have to skip class or have to leave classrooms, that is perfectly okay. That was me at school and I still did alright in my exams. It doesn't matter how many times you need to leave the room, doesn't mean you're going to do badly in your exams at all. You can still do really well in your exams if that's what you want. Make sure you're going online all the time, BBC Bitesize, all those kind of websites. There's millions and trillions of websites that will tell you what you need to know for your exam. I don't know if people still do this, but like how to pass books, like I had a really awful teacher in 6th year who didn't teach me anything, but I ended up getting a B in that subject because I just taught myself the whole subject. It was business management, but success books, all those kind of things. Make sure you go up to your teachers. Some might be absolute idiots about it and say they don't understand, blah blah blah. Some could be really nice about it. It doesn't matter who they are as a person. Go up to them and say, this is the way it is, you can like it or leave it, but please give me past papers, please give me the stuff you were teaching in class today, please give me this, that, the next thing. If you have the money, you can have tutors at your house so that they can come into your house, you feel more calm in your house, you know where you're at, all the rest of it. There's a million and one things you can do if you have to leave the room. You can still pass your exams. There's no bother about that. Don't feel pressured at all about having to leave the room. It's totally cool. And the last thing I want to say is you have an illness. If you have mental health illness, you have an illness. That is the most important thing. You wouldn't, if somebody was in hospital with some kind of illness, you wouldn't say to them, well, your exams are the most important thing though, aren't they? They're going to get you where you need to be in life. No, you wouldn't say that. This is the same as that. A mental health illness is so important to look after, and that is by taking days off. It's by not being too stressed about your exams, because I am telling you, they don't matter. I mean, people that are like doctors and stuff, of course they need degrees, but there are so many jobs that don't need degrees. Most of the jobs that I want to do don't need degrees. Remember, there are a million and one ways to get to the place that you want to be. There's college if you don't get the right grades. There's university if you want to go to university and you get good grades. There's getting jobs, work experience, volunteering, a million, trillion things you can do. Don't stress out about your exams too much, because I'm telling you, they really don't mean that much. They do not matter that much at all. Your health is a gazillion times more important than any exam. Thank you very much for watching this video. I really hope that you get good exam results. If you don't, who cares? It really doesn't matter. Try your best and stay calm, have days off, and I hope you're all okay. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye!